I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around me, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. 713 through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest, rider, rider. I get those goosebumps every time you come around, yeah. You ease my mind, you make everything feel fine. Worry about those comments, I'm way too numb, yeah. It's way too dumb, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side, yeah. I get those goosebumps every time.
Love that tune.
You just battles around, can you? When it comes on.
Yeah, it's class.
Well, welcome all to a double loaded special on this Wednesday evening. And so we've been away up Newcastle for the weekend, and we'll come back and we thought, well, not just one show. Well, why don't we give you two? So we're throwing you two shows tonight. First of which we will be looking for your questions because we have two guests from the Newcastle United Supporters Trust that will be coming and join us very, very shortly to talk all things about the upcoming election. But look, first and foremost, Daz, how are things with you in general? Have you recovered yet?
Yeah, no, but a bit more lively now today than our show yesterday, even reminiscing. But no, just back from football training with my little boy. So Gaelic football. So he wore his Newcastle jersey. It was too cold to have it on show, but it'll be on show soon enough. But no, hay fever season is kicking in. I can feel it, Pete. I know we're sufferers of the old hay fever, but no. So get on that medication soon for the hay fever. But looking forward to this. A bit of a chat with the boys and hear more about the trust and the upcoming elections as well. So it should be interesting.
Definitely. And look, just before we bring them in, we see so many in the chat already. The likes of Drew. We've got Simon, Cole, Lisa, as always, the resident spanner. Tom, welcome all into the chat. And thank you for some of your great questions already. We're going to star them, and as they come along, get your questions in. Doesn't matter how much you know about the trust, how much you don't know about the trust. Get your questions in. No questions a silly question, and we'll get the guys to answer them. And at that point, I think it's best that we bring them in. So we're delighted to welcome in both Greg and Paul from the Newcastle United Supporters Trust. So welcome, guys, into tonight's show.
Hey, welcome.
Hey. Thank
Welcome.
you. Good to be here.
Can't see you, Paul, at the moment. I'm not sure if there's a problem with your...
I think his camera's kind of frozen.
Yeah, camera's frozen. But yeah, we can hear you, but we can't quite see you. I think...
Sorry.
You might want to log out and then come back in. It'll only take a few seconds.
Right, I'll dive out and come back in.
No worries. But Greg, we've got you, Greg. Welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. How are things with you?
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having us on. Looking forward to having a good chat, in particular about the upcoming trust elections. Get some good candidates, hopefully listeners. Might want to put the hat into the ring. Really exciting time to be involved in the trust. So yeah, but no, all good with me.
Brilliant stuff. And Paul, he's back. We can see you.
Can you see me? Thank you.
The camera's working. And look, as we said to Greg, massive thanks for taking the time to come and join us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
How are things with you in general? If I'm right, thinking you're a new member to the board. Is that right?
I am, yeah. So I was elected in December of last year, and then formally ratified at the board meeting or the AGM in January. So it's all new to me, but getting my teeth really stuck into it. Lots of stuff to do. So yeah, great. Looking forward to some new members joining the board.
Brilliant stuff. And look, just to start with, because there'll be some in the chat that know a little bit about the Supporters Trust, may even be a member of the Supporters Trust, but there may be some out there that are learning about the Supporters Trust for the first time. So I don't know if you want to just give us a little bit of a background of what the Supporters Trust is and what it does to support the fans and have links to the club.
Do you want me to pick that one up, Paul?
Yes,
so
please.
I've been involved in the board since 2019, quite a while now. So the Newcastle United Supporters Trust was effectively started actually as long ago as back in 2008, as Newcastle United as a supporters club then, and then turned into a trust really, and it effectively was relaunched in 2019 by Alex Hurst when he picked it up as chair and asked a few of us to get together, got a band together really to relaunch it. It was in a place where it was pretty dormant, it was pretty quiet, had a very low membership, wasn't particularly active, and it needed to new lease of life as much as anything. And I was one of those people that Alex asked to get involved along with a few others, and we completely relaunched the trust back then. New brand, new logos, new website, new everything, and also a complete new direction really. And from then it has grown from strength to strength, to about 12,000 members as we sit here today. And really, it is a supporters trust, and I think the best way to describe that is it's a bit like a union, but really it's a collective of like-minded supporters who are our members, and it's an organization that seeks to have influence in the football club and how Newcastle United is run in the best interests of our fans, basically of our members and the wider Newcastle fan community really. And to do that, it's registered as a community benefit society, so it's formally registered, not for profit. Or have to submit annual returns, for example, to the Financial Conduct Authority. We have our accounts audited by independent auditors, and all of that proper stuff that goes on. And the board effectively, run the organisation on behalf of our members. It's only £1 to join. That buys you your share. So every member owns a share in the organisation. And it's a one member, one vote. And then we ask for a £1 per year subscription fee, which helps us with running costs, website, email, things like that, really. And then, over the few years since I've been involved, it really has changed quite dramatically. We've gone from an organisation that fought for things for the fans, basically to club that didn't really want to talk to us because they had to, but didn't really want to. They'd say one thing, they'd do another. We've gone from having to shame them in the press through media campaigns and working with the Evening Chronicle and others to give refunds on season ticket prices that they held for how long during COVID, millions and millions of Newcastle fans' money, to actually now having a really good working relationship with them. I've been in with other board members to meet Amanda and Murdad, and we regularly now meet with the club's head of supporter services and a few other key members of staff there as well. We've had the club join to observe trust board meetings and things like that. So the relationship's in a really different place now. And the final thing really to say, and it is a bit of a sales pitch, every single organization needs its board to be refreshed from time to time. And there's 6 places up for grabs in this election, probably the most important election for the trust since I've been involved, but equally a really exciting time. We've seen, obviously, the fan-led review into football governance not long ago, the Premier League fighting to stave off an independent regulator, the government committed to do it. But one of the things that Newcastle United have now committed to is a fan advisory board. And we would fully expect, as a democratic, independent, transparent supporters trust to be very involved in that when that comes. So it is really an exciting time to get involved. And, you know, everything is great at the moment with that relationship, but there's still major issues there that they're still needing to tackle. So ticketing, for example, major issues there, particularly at the home tickets with the 10-year deals coming to an end. You know, how are they going to tackle that? What are we going to see there? So, and the online system definitely needs some work. There's just, you know, just a flavor of things to come, but lots of really, really interesting things to get involved with. And it is also a really fulfilling role as well. But I should probably stop my monologue and let Paul say a few words, or you guys ask some questions.
I think you've answered most of the questions that have been done from the viewers so far. But yeah, I think I can only echo. I mean, Greg knows a lot more about the history than I do because he's been a member of the board for significantly longer. Obviously, I saw it from the outside as a member. I think I joined when it was relaunched under Alex in sort of 2019. And they've done some, you know, the trust, we've done some great work historically. Look at the fiasco with the entrance to Hillsborough this year. So we collated 360 reports from members about the troubles getting into Hillsborough and submitted that to the club and to South Yorkshire Police. Did the same with Elland Road last January, which actually I was at that game and saw firsthand what it was like trying to get into Elland Road with the turnstiles not working and the dangers that created. So everything like that, but everything we do is on the say of our members. So we survey members on a regular basis. We surveyed them about the cup final ticketing, safe standing, and that was a sort of a flash survey. Would you call it, Greg? 6 weeks ago or so, and then we posted the results on to members and on the website, etc. So lots and lots of stuff that we've done. Probably easier now than, you know, campaigning to get season ticket money back from Mike Ashley and Lee Charnley. The club are speaking to us. It's amazing. Club are speaking to us. They want to meet with us. There's a new supporter liaison officer just been appointed, which I don't think has been announced yet by the club, but he wants to meet us. So as soon as the board is put together, or the new board is put together, we're all going to meet him. So yeah, lots to talk about with the club, and they want to hear from us. They want to know what our members, the fans, effectively think about how the club's being run and what issues there might be moving forward. That's my pitch done.
Can I come in just with a quick question? Just Greg, you mentioned that there are 6 positions available, and looking at the website, there's 7 active members at the moment. Are there some people transitioning or from the trust, or what's the overall total? I suppose you want to be left with when it's.
I think Shane read your mind, Daz.
He did about 3 or 4 hours ago today when I wrote down some questions myself. Nice one, Shane. Sean, even.
So the board can be up to 12. Within the effectively the rules that govern us. So one of the things I didn't say before is the trust has a quite stringent set of rules that governs how it must operate, which is only I guess right when you're trying, or you are, you know, being this type of organization and not for profit. When you're elected for a 3-year term, and some of the board members, I think, will be coming to the end of that term. We don't currently have a huge board at the moment, but basically we haven't quite launched the election yet. This is a bit of a prelude to that. It's coming very soon, and once we do that, it'll be made very clear which of those involved at the moment will be stepping away.
Cool.
I was going to ask about the structure, really. What is the structure of the board like in its place? Like how is it structured currently?
So we have effectively, I mean, we call it a board, you know, given what it is, which is Newcastle fans who just want to, you know, give up their spare time to fight for things that they care about on behalf of fellow Newcastle fans. It's more probably operates more like a committee than a board, because below it, we don't have any staff. We don't have an organization, if that makes sense. So yes, we're the board, but we're also, you know, the doers. We do have some really, really good volunteers that have helped us out over the last few years, social media, graphics, that kind of thing. But in essence, the board is effectively running the organization. We formally meet once a month as a recorded, minuted board meeting. We have a trust secretary as well, Colin Whittle, who if you don't know him, you should. Amazing, great Newcastle fan who's been involved in this supporter, movement for many, many years. And yeah, so formally meet as a board once a month, meet informally every other week, ideally, if we can, just to make sure that things are going in the right direction, make sure things are getting done. Really, that's probably the best way to put it. I think, you as a board member, you'll have the autonomy to pick things up and lead in certain areas if that's where you're interested. And get involved in as much as you can, really. The chair obviously chairs those board meetings and is effectively the, main focal point of the organization. And after each election, a new chair is effectively appointed, or the previous one reappointed. So that'll be a process we'll have to go through, really. In terms of time commitment, Paul, you're probably best placed to answer this. I mean, I've had weeks when it's almost taken over my life. I mean, on a normal week, you probably, ideally you want someone to be giving up a few hours a week, at least an hour a week on a even on a non-board member board meeting week. But it's not huge.
I mean, there's nothing in writing to say, you must give us 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a week. I think you pick up when you can, because, work commitments always come first. Of course they do. They have to. That's your living. And this is family. Yeah, I forgot about them, didn't I? Dogs. It's a voluntary position. Nobody's paid for it. We don't make any profit out of it. And there's no vested interest by any of us as board members other than to represent our members for the benefit of Newcastle United. So, when I joined in January, it was a fairly easy-ish entry, I suppose. I spent maybe 3-4 hours. I took on a project to revamp the website, outsource the website to a web design company, etc., negotiate the pricing, and we effectively designed the new website, something I've done before in my day job, I suppose, in terms of what I do. So that was fairly easy for me, and reported all of that back via the board email, etc., and WhatsApp group that we have. And then all of a sudden the Carabao Cup final came along, and Greg, you might be testament to this. It was tough, ticketing decisions were made by the club. We got a lot of emails, and it took over a lot of our time because, we promised that we'll respond to emails within, I think it's 72 hours, if I'm right, Greg. So there was a lot of emails to sift through, a lot of stories about, people not getting tickets, etc., etc. So that was a difficult one. And then some little extra bits that sort of have done a bit of fun in terms of we were asked for somebody to go and interview at St. James's Park for Danish television. So I, took myself out of my comfort zone and went and did a television interview for the first time, which, what was really good fun. So you get exposure to some really good things and can take you out your comfort zone from everyday life, which is good and it's interesting. Probably, I guess 3 hours a week is about right. But, if people can't give that, then they can't give that. If people can give more because they're in a different position, then they give more, Yeah,
I have weeks when I give it very little and I have weeks when I give it a good few hours. It does very much change. I think a really good example, though, of how it works, actually, Paul, will be your project on the website. So for those who haven't seen, we've got a brand new website. Much needed.
But it works.
NUFCtrust.co.uk, and that was something that the board had identified as needed doing, but didn't really have the, previously amongst our priorities, time to do it. When the new board last election came on board, Paul joined us, took on the website task, and with a little bit of direction from those of us who've been involved in the trust for a while, who can provide that historic context, away Paul went, and we now have a brand new, brilliant website.
Working website.
So those are the he went away and led that project, worked with the supplier, and there it is, and it's much better and much more improved.
And I guess it's horses for courses. If people have got particular skill sets in particular areas, then, as a board or and I think we said earlier, someone asked what the structure is. It's a flat structure, isn't it? Nobody has more, nobody has a veto over anybody else, etc.
Yeah.
As long as you get a unanimous decision on some decisions that need to be made, then we go with it. And then if people have certain skill sets to pick up certain tasks or responsibilities, then if everybody else is happy with that, we run with it. So there's plenty of autonomy.
Yeah, I think on that, I think I'd even go as far as saying in my time on the board, actually, I think I can probably count on one hand how many times we've had a disagreement and had to go to a formal vote of the board. Yeah. Because we're all when Newcastle United fans fighting for things that matter to Newcastle fans, 9 times out of 10 we're pretty aligned on what we're doing and where we're going when it comes to decisions at board meetings and things like that.
And they all come via our members. The queries come via our members anyway. We don't just sit there and say, what should we approach the club about today? It's all questions that come through the inbox from our members anyway.
Yeah, that's the big principle, is everything is member led. So, Paul mentioned the pulse survey we did on ticketing at Wembley. We'll do our annual survey again, I think for the 3rd time this year shortly, towards as we come to the end of the season, where we'll ask questions to our members on everything. From ticketing, safe standing, and loads more, and all the things that the members think that we should be pushing and trying to influence the club on things that matter. Because, yes, the likes of myself and Paul put our face forward to get involved in this kind of thing, but equally we're doing it for the members, and it has to be and always will be member led. Otherwise, there's not much point being a member organization.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who we are at the end of the day. We're no better or worse than any of our members or any Newcastle United fan. We just put our head above the parapet to volunteer for our, for the benefit of Newcastle United, because that's all it's for at the end of the day. Get some funny questions come through, mine, don't you?
Look, I'll go straight to it, because there are a number of questions coming in. Thank you for everyone that's put questions in, multiple questions in some cases, and we will ask Paul and Greg or all of them. So I'll start with this one. If you don't mind, Daz, stealing the chat for a second. Bill Burnett puts the trust like-minded. Have things changed? I've heard that politics is the main focus of the trust. He particularly wasn't impressed with the trust interview with the English Premier League during the takeover. So that's Bill's perspective. So is there? I think what he's trying to say, is there sort of politics involved in this?
No, there's no politics. The main thing I would say is, don't listen to people who talk crap about the trust, who don't like the trust, because they do. There's some people out there. There's no politics involved. There's a group of people who give up their spare time, who, yes, we get things out of it, but we're not, there's no personal gain from doing this. There's no politics involved. It's just a group of people fighting for our members. We are member led on every single thing the trust does, be it, in how we influence the club or any other things like that. And then, as for the EPL interview, I think, well, it wasn't an interview. It was a meeting with Richard Masters. The trust were the only organization that got, with the FSA, that got in front of Richard Masters and asked him some very direct questions during that horrible protracted process. The trust also engaged a leading barrister to write to the Premier League, arguing, effectively lobbying, saying the takeover should go ahead and that there's no legal impediment to it going ahead, in the face of others doing the same. We knew Daniel Levy at Tottenham Hotspur was doing that. Don't believe crap when it's got not substantiated by the truth, is all I'll say on that.
Yeah, it was always, as we said, we'll ask all those questions. So I'm really glad that you've answered that one and put that one to bed. That's for sure.
To any questions like that, the best place to always come is to the trust. We're the easiest organisation to contact. board@nufctrust.co.uk, and we will get back to you on anything, any questions like that, always. So please do, because there's a lot in some areas. There is some nonsense spoken and said about the trust, and from what I see, more often than not, it's not substantiated.
And this is why it's been great to have you on so far and for you to answer these questions. That's for sure. And look, Sean is coming with another question, to sidestep the comment from Bill and take it into a slightly different direction. And he's put, not this one, actually. We'll come back to that one because there was another one from Sean. And it was related to the direction of the board. So he's put, would like to ask Greg and Paul, what's the new direction of the trust given the takeover and then new dialogue with the club and owners? So ultimately, what's your objectives as the trust, moving forward? Now we've got the new owners, as you talked about, and the dialogue is more open. What is it that you want to achieve in that sort of new direction?
So I think I'll let Paul come in on this in a moment, but I think the overall actual aims of the trust are very similar to what they were before, but how you go about achieving them and what you're going to do is obviously very, very different. So the fundamental aims of any supporters trust is to have as much influence as it can in the running of its football club. And obviously previously we did things like launching the pledge scheme, which was a brilliant, amazing thing to raise money for in the eventuality that we might be able to buy a share in the club if it were to go the way of Sunderland, for example, and fall down. But now I think the aims are still there to have that influence, but it's going to be in a different way, and it's going to be in a positive and collaborative way, because as the club fundamentally transforms from a shell that it was under Mike Ashley to being this big, successful, hugely commercial organization, it is really important that those fans' issues are still looked out for and that fans' influence is still there at the very, very highest level. So absolutely still doing all of that and really looking to push things forward. So, what's going to happen to St. James's Park? What's going to happen on ticketing? It's constantly getting asked questions on away ticket allocations around, how many tickets are the club, for example, using for staff and corporate allocations. And there's so many different things that we're working on in terms of the day-to-day questions and those influences. But really, it's very similar in terms of making sure that the decisions that Newcastle United make are made in the best interests of the Newcastle United fans. And right now, everything's going in the right direction, but there will come a time, I'm almost certain, where our current owners will want to do things that maybe we don't quite fully support as a fan base. That time might come. It's all good now, but if they need to be held to account, we will be there to do that. I don't know what that is. I don't want to look into the future and say that because it has been all good so far. But it's difficult running a football club, and we've seen some of the crazy decisions that other supporters, other football clubs have made, that really impacted their fans. Thankfully, so far, the way the club are going about it, they're doing it the right way. For example, the introduction of the rail seating, the way they consulted with the trust and with season ticket holders in the area. They held some events at St. James's Park and all of that. They're doing everything the right way. But there are things that I'm sure would cross a line for supporters, but we just have to wait and see and hope that through that constructive relationship we can make sure they don't really come to the fore. Paul, do you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, not a lot more to add, but I think, it is the trust, it is the members and fans and trust's responsibility to hold the club accountable for decisions that they make. Now, if the decisions that they make are great and the fans love them, there's nothing to hold them accountable for. But as and when, as Greg said, as and when there are occasions when they make some decisions that members don't like and members bring them to us, it's our responsibility to members to take them to the club. And because we have such good dialogue with the club now, they want to listen to us and they want to talk to us for the first time ever. Whereas I may be right in saying you managed to get one meeting with Lee Charnley in 3 years.
We had a few, but very little ever came of any actions or anything there.
It was lip service.
And I think Wembley ticketing is a prime example actually already. So we had a lot of our members that were unhappy with how the club allocated ticketing for Wembley. I think the club had an almost impossible task on their hands. But the one thing I can absolutely assure everybody watching who's a member of the trust is the club, if you were unhappy, the club knows about it. And also, you know, we did that survey afterwards, and those survey results feed into that engagement into the club, so they're learning constantly. You know, they had to scramble around the first cup final in however many years.
They did.
And so it was a bit crazy, but they'll learn from that, and we've provided our member data into that process.
Just maybe come with another question in a different angle as well. I'm going to club two questions together here, and maybe we have a balanced view here. But Funny Mac Funface, I like that name. But he asked a question. I would love to know what Greg thinks of the newly formed NUSC, and also club it with will the trust work with the newly formed NUSC?
So, what do I think of NUSC? Well, first of all, I think of the supporters club movement, which is very different to a supporters trust. You know, I'm a member of a supporters club. I'm a member of, for those who don't know, I live and work down in London. I'm a member of the Newcastle United Supporters Club London. So, you know, look, the supporters club movement as a community, events, things like that, I think that's great. I've had a chat with one of the people involved in NUSC on a personal level because I know him. I know him quite well, and I've been. In fact, I used to play football with him. We were crap actually outside. I think we once lost 30-something nil once.
You know everyone, Greg.
Don't Pete
Everyone.
so bad now, Pete.
We did.
Yeah,
We did.
not at all.
I was up in Scotland. We travelled all that way, and now it was awful. But look, if they want to get in touch formally as an organisation and have some conversations with us, we're easy to get in touch with. I have had a chat on the phone with one of the guys involved there, but you know they're building a community, you know, and going about that how they wish to do it. A supporters club and a supporters trust are very different organisations. We're not set up as a private limited company. We're set up as a not for profit. One member, you get a vote, you get a share in the organization. That a trust and a supporters club are very different things. But yeah, if they want to get in touch, and this is what I said when I spoke to the person involved. I've also been on the boats on the Thames as well in the past personally. But when we spoke on the phone, I said, look, if you do want to get in touch with us, you've got our email addresses, drop us a line when that time is right for you.
Wow.
Cool.
No,
very
good.
I have another question, and it's getting more basic now, Michael. And it's one I had myself, and I know I think probably Sean, because Sean has a lot of the similar questions I had wrote down. But okay,
you do know that Sean used to be on the board of the trust.
Did he? Oh, he knows the answers already. Okay.
Well, it's been a while, so maybe he's just getting a refresher.
He's just chucking in the difficult questions to test us. That's what it is.
He also sent me a WhatsApp yesterday, and I didn't respond. So there you go.
You should have responded. There's a payback for him. But yeah, okay. I'm Joe Blogs. I'm a member in the trust. How do I go about putting myself forward for the election? I know you'll probably send out more information in the next few days, but how does it all work?
Paul, is that one for you, or do you want me?
Yeah, I can take it so far. You'll have to finish it off because I've not been involved from the other side yet. So there will be a member email that will come out to everybody. It does get staggered, so if some members don't get it within. We found that out with our new emailing system with the first email that we sent out, and then said if you haven't got it, contact us. And we were bombarded, right? So it comes out. I think it goes out to about 12,000 members, something like that. So to make sure it doesn't go into your spam, it's timed for some reason, so it'll go out. It'll give you some instructions as to what you need to do in fairness, and everything will then be uploaded by me into the website. So there's a nomination form that you need to fill in, which is your own personal information. And you need to be nominated by 2 members of the trust. I believe they can be board members. They don't have to be,
yep.
But you know, I think more likely you would probably go to your friends and ask them if they don't mind nominating you. So you fill in their personal information. You also complete an additional personal statement as to why you believe you would be a good board member for Newcastle United Sports Trust. And that will then go, the two forms you will email then to an independent chair. That independent chair has been allocated to us by the Football Supporters Association, the FSA. So about 2 hours ago, we got a WhatsApp because our usual chap's on holiday. I think, Greg, is that right?
Yeah, well, the guy who's done it for us before is on
All
holiday.
right, okay. Not a usual chat, right? Because they're
He
independent.
has done it for us before a few times, but yeah. So,
So we've just been allocated somebody. We are just waiting for those timelines. So once they're allocated and sent over, that independent chair will validate the information. Will contact that individual themselves. That individual does have to be a member. I did see a question earlier. Actually, how long do you have to be a member for to be able to stand? I think as long as you're signed
Join
up.
now.
There you go. It's Lisa.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And then from there, you email that information over to the independent chair, who will validate that information with you and your two nominees. And then, honestly, after that, I've absolutely no idea. So I'll have to pass it across to Greg.
Well, after that, we're not involved, basically. So that, it's really important that the board are not involved, because it's a democratic, independent process. We have in the context of this election, or any election, there's no difference between a board member and any member of the trust. It's one member, one vote. And just to pick up actually on something Paul said, because some of you might be watching and thinking you might want to get involved, but you might not know somebody who's involved in the trust, or you might not know. If you are thinking of doing it and getting involved, which I would strongly encourage, but you need people to second you, more than welcome to drop me an email. greg.tomlinson@nufctrust.co.uk, and I'm sure we can make sure we have a good amount of candidates. But yeah, we're not particularly involved. Once everything gets uploaded online, there'll be an election. We use a piece of software, election runner product, so it's all run electronically. But the independent chair runs all of that. We see absolutely nothing that another member wouldn't see. And then until we find out the results, basically.
Cool.
Okay, so when does this process start then? Okay, so what is the sort of timeline now? So you've talked about what would happen over the course of if someone was to put themselves forward. What is the timeline for this election then, for those that are watching right now and maybe considering putting themselves forward?
So we're going to release that timeline as soon as we have almost as soon as we have the email address for the independent chair. We have a name, we just don't have an email address yet. And Colin is going to, as our secretary, he is going to share the timelines with the independent chair before we can release them. It's going to be from start to finish between 3 and 4 weeks. So there will be approximately 2, if I'm right in saying this, Greg, 2 weeks to get your nomination forms in effectively and your supporting
10 days,
statements.
2 weeks, about 10 days, 2 weeks. Yeah, around about that. Yeah.
And then the validation shouldn't take, depends on how many people apply, of course. It shouldn't take too long, but we are hoping that the election results will be pretty much the week after the end of the season, the week after the Chelsea game. But we can't guarantee that at this stage. We're at the hands of the independent chair at this point.
Okay, interesting. So for anyone that's
I'm right, Greg.
For anyone that's thinking about it, that's the plan. So we'll have to keep an eye out for those things. Any other questions that have took your eye, Daz? You think?
Yeah, there are. I have a few more starred. I guess Lisa's asking the question as well, and we've highlighted another question, but she's saying that she's not a member. What does the trust do, and what does a member mean? I know you have kind of touched on it a bit, Greg, in the opening monologue, but so what's involved, I suppose?
Well, what's involved in being a member is you're basically joining a community of, like-minded people who, I guess, have a board and an organization standing up for their best interests, really, in all things to do with the football club and engaging with Newcastle United. What is involved? Well, as much as or as little as you want. Some of our members volunteer and help us out and get involved. Some of us help us out with social media. and other things like that. Some just read the emails. Some might never even read the emails, but they are members. And I guess the things with things like, I mean, it's not a union, but it's similar to that in terms of a collective voice. You know, if we go into the room with 12,000 members, we've got a stronger voice on behalf of Newcastle fans than if we go in there with 12 members. You know, so we never really shy away from asking for more members and encouraging people to join, because, and that's why we've kept the joining fees so low. Like £1 to join, that buys you a share, so you are effectively a shareholder of Newcastle United Supporters Society, and then a £1 yearly fee. We do occasionally run events. We've had a few. We had one at the end of the pledge scheme, celebrating the pledge scheme with Alan Shearer and a few others you may have seen. Unfortunately, I was in New Zealand, so I couldn't go. But yeah, you get out, you get an organization that's going to really stand up for you, and you get to have your say through our engagement. So main form of engagement is through email, but we run an annual survey, as I said before, on everything to do with fan issues at Newcastle United, which gives us the member data, member ammunition on the top hot topics, even though we can probably name the top few off the top of our head. And then if there's a specific certain issue, we'll do like a pulse survey and get that going, which we did on Wembley ticketing. The main one I remember in my time on the board, and it's not an area we would normally want to get too involved in as a supporters trust, but we did one about whether or not Newcastle should sack Steve Bruce at one point, because it was just
100%
belief, wasn't it? So, yeah, but I think that was all over the newspapers the next day, that one. And it was literally the back page of the results of our survey were the back page of the national newspapers all over the country. But that just shows what we've built. So since we rebuilt the trust, we've built an organization that has good links with the club, but is also respected by national media outlets. So, when there is an issue that you need the trust to stand up for, that the relevant authorities are going to listen to what we say. So twice we've been involved in investigations into supporter safety issues down at Leeds United and also at Sheffield Wednesday, working with the other club, with the relevant authorities, safety advisory groups, etc. But also, those relationships and the standing that we have with the media as well means that, when things happen and fans need to be stood up for, the trust can do that and will do that. You just need to look at what has happened to various fans of teams playing in Europe this year away from home. If we go away, if we get a horrible away in the Champions League and something goes, terrible management at a ground, easily done. We saw what happened with Liverpool in the last season, was it? I think, where their supporters trust ended up working with local politicians and others to really, get accountability from the French authorities. That type of thing is what the trust is there for when supporters need a voice. Now, when things are going well, you might think that you don't necessarily need us that much, but it's to have knowing that is going to be there if it does go wrong is a huge thing as well. And there's only a few times that we've had to get involved in those types of things, and hopefully, touch wood, won't be very many more. But as an organisation, to react and stand up for supporters on those issues, we know how certain, just look at football policing. Still, in this day and age, is absolutely ridiculous, and football fans are often treated like second-class citizens compared to other people who go to other sports, and often, just absolutely ridiculous. So, an organisation to stand up for you, basically. We got involved a few years ago down at Bournemouth with some of our members who were ridiculously arrested when Matt Ritchie scored. Really, when you drill down into it, for no reason other than Bournemouth have a terrible ground that's they have a ground that is too small for the Premier League and just couldn't handle an away end celebrating a goal in added on time at the end of the match. Really. So yeah, it's there to stand up and support and also influence. So there is a wide range of things, really.
Cool. I have another good question here, I think, and it's from Richard Barnsdale. But before I do, I guess it's linked. I suppose for me, it's a good one because I live in Ireland, and I know a previous board member, friend of ours, was Adam Beckett, who was sitting in the US. But Richard asked the question. I think the trust has one international board member. Is there a limit on international board members allowed? Has the trust looked at having board members elected for specific international regions?
So there is no limit on that, and would strongly encourage, we represent all of our members. We don't just represent season ticket holders, for example. We don't just represent people in one specific area. We represent all of our members, and by that, we have a really good membership throughout North America that Adam previously worked with as well. And so, would really encourage. You don't need to be on the ground in Newcastle to get involved and be an effective board member. I'm not in Newcastle. I go as much as I can, being from there originally, but obviously working in down south now. But get involved.
That was another question, actually. I've heard a few people talk about this, and the question being, is it, do you have to be a member, a club member, or have a club membership, or do you have to have a season ticket in order to be a member? It sounds like a very small, simple question, but these are things that are on some fans' minds about whether they're going to put themselves forward or not.
No, absolutely not. Fan.
Yeah, she's got to be a Newcastle fan. I think the majority of our members are not season ticket holders. We should probably survey that, Greg.
We've got a really good mix. Yeah, quite a lot of non-season ticket holders. We've got a really good.
Doesn't make you any less of a fan, So we're not bothered whether you're a season ticket holder, whether you go home or away. Doesn't make you a super fan just because you go to the games, does it?
Exactly, you're absolutely right. Anthony is just had to drop off, but he's mentioned really enjoyed listening and has a better understanding of the trust and will join. So thank you, Anthony Smith, for coming on and joining us. And it looks like you've got a new member there. That's for sure, at least one. I know Lisa's going to be signing up as well. But there's. One question I'm interested in is that you've talked about obviously the links between the club and the trust, I wanted to know from the perspective of when you said about in the future the club might decide to do something that the fans might not necessarily be happy about. Is there a point in which they have to inform the trust about before they go on and do something, and if so, at what stage is that? Is it at the point in which they're about to pull the trigger on a decision, club related, or do they have to let you know early on in that process, or do they have to let you know at all?
So at the moment, there is no formal process there where they have to, other than they have to engage with us as per effectively. Effectively the supporter engagement standard, fan engagement standard that the Premier League has in place, but there's no formal way. The club have committed to launching a fan advisory board, and they've talked about certain things there that effectively would be subject to consultation. I think they call them protected assets. They're just following the Premier League's own fan engagement standard. There are things like club colours, club and things like that. So other clubs have club badges in their stadiums, grounds, things like that. So I think the devil will be in the detail when the club does finally launch its fan advisory board in terms of what becomes formal. But I think it's a brilliant question, and really this is an area that is really, really changing. So it'll be really interesting what happens with the obviously the government are looking to put in place this independent regulator for football following the Tracy Crouch-led fan-led review, which went on over the last few years, and the trust was one of a few clubs that managed to get a session with the panel there and input. I think the presentation was called Newcastle United: The Mike Ashley Experience. So it wasn't particularly pleasant there on terms of football governance. And I think it's really interesting time because the Premier League and bearing in mind what the Premier League is, which is effectively the clubs, are in particular trying to fight off having an independent regulator imposed on them. And they're going to be doing that by basically, one of the things they're going to be doing is far better supporter engagement. Now, what's coming out through the Premier League is a big step forward, but it's not the best in the world. And then when we come to the Newcastle United, we have this commitment to a fan advisory board. What we really need to know, though, is the detail. So the devil, as ever, is going to be in the detail on what those things are that fall into that context. But, and this is where, I think the trust's in a really strong place compared to where it was before, where you would have to try and fight the club. And the way you would have to fight the club was to try and embarrass them in the press, basically. We have that relationship, and that relationship only works if you can ask the difficult questions, which if we have to, we absolutely will do, and are at the moment on certain things around, what's going to be coming on ticketing in particular, which is obviously the big one following on from Wembley.
Definitely, and it's something that will definitely need to be addressed. That's for sure. How they get around that will be really interesting to observe in the next year or so, because who's to say that we're not going back at a cup final next season, and we have we all hope so, more than one, let's say. And,
Champions League final as well.
Well,
I mean, just to put it into perspective in terms of the relationship. So when the takeover did go through, I was the chair of the trust at the time. And, shortly after that, I got a phone call from Amanda and Mehrdad. Like, the Supporters Trust got a phone call from the co-owners of Newcastle United Football Club. Like that
Only 10%, Greg. Don't get too excited.
Never spoke to Mike Ashley, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we actually got asked to go and meet him, or offered a meeting, we were told it would have to be in a pub in London over beers, the trust. It didn't happen. But that was an offer made to us. But, so that just shows, the engagement is there. The conversations are obviously, that engagement primarily is now through the club's head of supporter services. So they're completely rebuilding. So the team running the club, obviously, Amanda and Mehrdad brought in, Darren Eales and a full rebuild of a business, really, is what's been going on. And they've set up a supporter services department, which we didn't have previously. They've have Sarah Medcalf heading that up. She has a number of staff working for her, and as Paul said before, they've just appointed a new supporter liaison officer, which I'm sure will be communicated properly in due course. The most important thing there is that the supporters liaison officer is now a proper Newcastle United fan as well. It's not just somebody who is doing a job because it's their job. This guy is actually a Newcastle United fan, which is massively improvement. Particularly, the guidance on what an SLO is or should be from the Football Supporters Europe actually says, your SLO should be fundamentally a supporter because they need to understand the issues. It's a really, really interesting and amazing time to have that relationship. But I'm sure those times will come when there are things that we have to talk about that are difficult, but that's okay.
I'm going to take a hint from Sean here in the chat and ask the question, and because Sean's already answered it, how much is it to join the trust for the year? And Sean's answer is £1. It's surely an error. It can't be that cheap. But as we had it up earlier, if you wanted to join, here is the link. You'll find it in the chat as well. But thanks for the answer, Sean.
Sean forgets that we're non-for-profit means we can't pay him any commission for pushing it, but thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Definitely. But we've probably got about 7 or 8 minutes left before we'll wrap up the chat, and I think there's still a few questions in there as well. So, Daz, I don't know if you've seen any in there. I think there's one from Cole Seggy. I'll just click this one.
Go for that one. Yeah,
click that one at the top. And it says, question, I'm a Newcastle United Supporters Trust member, but I can no longer log into the site. All I can do is become a member again. Any suggestions? I don't know.
So my main suggestion is you've got absolutely no need to log into the website. So with our new website, there is no login function anymore. It wasn't really anything that added any value to us. You could log in and see your details, and that was about it. So we've got rid of it, which I think we explained in an email. But if you need any information on your membership, Carl, please do drop us an email, either to myself or Paul, or just to board@nufctrust.co.uk, and we can help out that way. But in terms of the login functionality that we used to have, because all it really did was you could log in and then you could see your own name and your own details, which I think you know already. We got rid of that when Paul redesigned the website, basically, because it didn't really serve us any purpose.
It was pointless, yeah.
So if you need to know your membership details or your membership number or anything like that, drop us an email. We'll send it to you.
There's some fairly, sorry, just to add to that, I guess, with Carl, I don't know if you get your emails from us. Over the years, people have unsubscribed from getting their emails, so it's very easy just to ask us to resubscribe you, probably when they were pissed off with the ownership. Excuse my French. Can you swear on this channel? When you were fucked off with the Mike Ashley ownership, people were unsubscribing, I think. You do need to formally ask us. Oh, hello. Right. Yeah. I've been on Channel 4 this, mind.
Any excuse for Daz to use the feature. I love it.
Davina, please do not swear.
People can just email the board@nufctrust.co.uk and ask to be resubscribed. If you think you're not getting emails, we can check. Some people don't know if they're members or not. We can check if you're a member. Don't worry.
So I think that's a really good point. So we got a lot of emails during the Wembley ticketing issues, complaining that I've seen you put a post on social media saying, members, you're getting an email. Why haven't I got it? And 9 out of 10, when we went to check, they had the individual had clicked the unsubscribe button at some point, probably when they were, like Paul said, disenfranchised with everything to do with Newcastle United.
You're far more pleasant than me, Greg.
And under GDPR regulations and law, we can't send you an email if you've asked us not to send you an email. So if you've said don't email me, we can't send you an email.
Send them a letter.
If you didn't get the last poll survey about 6 weeks ago, and you're a member, email us and we will resubscribe you, but we can't just do it verbally.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a good kind of comment / question here from Gaz. So he says, I'm a member of the trust and certainly think the trust has some great initiatives. However, I don't feel that I'm a part of something the supporters club does make me feel. He goes on to say, is there a chance the trust could organise a town hall fans forum with the club, essentially just to show thanks for a great season and to ask what the club has planned for the future? So I suppose it's an idea he's thrown out there.
I think it's something on the latter one. I think it's something the club were talking about, isn't it, Greg? Doing a town
so
hall
I mean, it's something that we would love to do. I think it's something we'll talk to the club about. We have done quite a few events over the years. Obviously, the last few were all focused around the pledge scheme that you'll recall. But yeah, I think it's a great idea, and it's something that we should be doing. We're not gonna, a supporters trust is slightly different to a supporters club, so we're not gonna go and put on, big events, around a match day and things like that. But do join in with those others if that's what you want to do. But equally, I think, there's some really fair points there. One of the things that the trust can always do is improve how it communicates with its members. We've got our own YouTube channel, not quite as many subscribers as this one. We've made a commitment to trying to get on there a bit more often, where members can just jump on and chat to us, talk to us, ask us whatever they want, or get in touch, email, and we're trying slowly to make our social media a bit more I guess accessible, as much as anything. For a long time it was just like a transmit account, and we said we won't interact with anyone. If you ask us a question on there, we will now try and on Twitter at least, we'll try and answer.
I've got access to the Twitter account now. That could be dangerous.
unless Elon Musk tries to charge us for it, when we'll have to think twice about that if he changes his mind again on all those things. But yeah, I think it's actually a good idea about those types of events, and I think the club will get to a position in time when they're comfortable with getting involved in those. Again, it just shows the relationship. So we held our last AGM at St James's Park. The one the year before was in a very, very noisy pub, and it was difficult, but a not-for-profit organization where I look for a free venue. The last one was was at St James's Park, and senior staff from the club turned up, got involved, asked questions, answered questions. So yeah, we'll look into that one.
Yeah, I think again, if people want something, come and ask us. If enough people want that, then we can look into doing something, as opposed to just throwing things about, because we're not a supporters club, we're a trust, so it's a little bit different.
Interesting. I think there's a couple of questions left.
Yeah, go for it, Pete.
Yeah. Okay. Slightly different question. What happened to the trust North America? I know that it somewhat started in December 2019, and then the world fell apart. Any plans to resurrect the idea?
So that was something that Adam really got involved with. We were reaching out to our members, in particular those in North America. I think, yeah, we'd have to take that one away and look into it, really, because I mean, in the main, we do try and keep our membership communication the same for absolutely everybody. But I think that's one we'd have to take away and look into. I know we did a lot with NUST North America, particularly previously through Adam, and I know that we did a bit around North American events with the pledge scheme. I know we had one with Warren Barton with our North American members then, which I think I joined as well, one of them. So yeah, let's take that away and pick that one up. So yeah, apologies if it's gone quiet, but we'll take that one away.
Okay. Sorry, that's gone.
No. Yeah, well, maybe we'll go to this one. Then the last one here, really, Pete. There seems to be a lot of groups intent on keeping what they have monetary and political wise, instead of having best interests for the club. What can you do to address this and pull everyone together? And that comes from Mark Todd.
Well, that's a really difficult question, because we're not here to, unfortunately, we're not here to police everybody, are we? And we can't. And everybody has their own opinion, and people have different views. The one thing I will say, though, is that the trust is the organization to join. And I would say that, but as far as I'm aware, the trust is the only full general supporters organization that is fully independent, democratic, transparent, and accountable. So, there are no monetary or political drivers in any of this. On a money side of things, I've seen people hammering before, where's the money going? Well, our accounts are audited by chartered accountants and then submitted to the Financial Conduct Authority. A copy of them is available on the FCA website.
On the website.
Yeah.
So there's no drivers there. So get involved. There are other organizations that also share those values that we do. But they're mainly, and the organizations that we've talked to and worked with, but they're mainly specific focus organizations. So United with Pride is one that I know, and I was due to go to their AGM last year at St James's Park. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Myself and Lee, who I saw buzzing around in the chat before, were due to go there. Unfortunately, I know I couldn't make it. And there's obviously NUDSA as well, the Disabled Supporters Association. So look, I would say it, but I would say join the trust. We're not going to compete with anyone. We're not here to argue and fight with other organizations. We're here just to stand up for our members. There's no egos involved. There's no politics. There's no self-interest. It's just standing up and fighting for our members. And that is genuinely what it is. That's why when you hear some other people, I only find these things out because people send them to me, because I don't see them, but some people, having a go at the trust for this and that, a lot of them, the trust doesn't really rise to anything like that, because 9 times out of 10 it's unfounded, and we're just looking to stand up for our members. if you don't like what we do and the direction we do, stand for election. Or if you do like what we do and you do like being part of that, engagement with the club and having that influence, also stand for election. Because, at the end of the day, it's democratic. It's not just somebody who set something up because they want to. It's a fully democratic organization. It's set up. It's legitimate. I could go on. So yeah.
Well, guess what? We're human. We're human, and we're human, and we're fans. That's it. Come and join us. It's good fun.
Excellent. I think that rounds it up nicely. How you both have finished that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it opens up when the elections finally get underway. But look, the chat have been fantastic. Massive thank you to everyone in the chat for your questions. Go on, Greg.
Is Lisa part of your loaded mag?
Yes.
You can't have her. You can't have her.
So I've seen all the. So I want proof. I want to see proof that she's joined.
I want to see all the new memberships come in, Greg. You'll see it.
She'll definitely do that.
She's a lady of her word. Don't worry, our Lisa is
100%. But look, I'm sure there'll be lots of people that are interested in looking into it a little bit more about potentially putting themselves forward. There might be a few in the chat right now.
Thanks, Lisa. I do work in sales.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Sort of.
Brilliant stuff. But look, Paul, Greg, massive thank you for you to joining us tonight. And look, you know what? It'd be great to have you on again as the elections kind of build. That's for sure, and we can talk about anything that kind of pops up at that time, and I'm sure people will have more questions and things to ask. But look, before you go, plug the trust, but also the YouTube channel and anything else social media related that people can access.
So I look from the website nufctrust.co.uk/join, I think, or just go to trust.co.uk, get involved, join up. It's £1 to get for a share. You own a part of the organization, so get involved if you're not already a member. But fundamentally, if you're thinking about it in terms of standing to join the board at what is a really fascinating time, fan advisory board around the corner, formal engagement with the club, a real opportunity to have your say and really influence the football club that we all love and adore in the right way. Get involved. But equally, you might just have piqued your interest today. Got any questions? Drop me a line, drop Paul a line, drop the board a line. Get involved and come and join us. We need to. It's probably the most important election the trust had since I've been involved. 6 new members, a complete refresh of the board. A complete push forward. Get involved. It's a little bit of time, but it is rewarding. If you love your football club like we all do, it's a bit different, but it's great.
No, it does sound like it's an opportunity for people to get there in there and try and shape it and work together and to come up with fresh ideas, I guess. And I'm sure every group needs a bit of a revamp or a reboot now and again as well, just for that. So, yep, best of luck to everyone that puts themselves forward.
Thank you. If I just add one thing, is there any way you can clip that last dramatic monologue and stick it to some Titanic music or something like that? Because that'd go well on Twitter.
We put Vale in St James's Park, I think, as well. What they're saying.
Well, we've had a few today.
The PA.
We've had a few today about the PA. That might have to be something that we pick up if enough people email the board email address and ask us to look at that, then we can certainly chat.
It's not just this last few games. The Fulham game was hilarious. He started trying to announce a substitute. It wasn't the normal guy, Rob, but the guy he started trying to announce a substitution while Mitrovic was running up to take a penalty. It might have contributed to him slipping and missing.
Oh well, it worked then, didn't it?
But it is. I've seen that comment. We've had a few people raise that one. It's a minor one, but we'll feed it back because it is very odd. Like as soon as the final whistle goes and you're hearing some a song deafening, when really the fans just want to make a bit more noise. We just won a massive game. It's the last thing you need. Bear in mind, for most of the Mike Ashley era, you couldn't actually hear the PA, so they've somehow gone the opposite. Right.
I quite like it, me, because I'm always full of drink anyway, so I just start singing along. It's cool with me.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff. But look, guys, it's been a pleasure to have the chat with you. And I think everyone in the chat, and both myself and Daz, are a lot more informed about the elections process. I'm not gonna lie. I am interested in putting myself forward. But it's been don't do that, Daz. It's something that I've thought about. So yeah. I am not officially putting my hat in the ring, but I am interested in putting myself forward. So
nothing like a bit of confidentiality, but yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
vote Pedro.
Yeah. We'll see. But no, thank you very much for joining us, as we've said. And look, we as a channel, we don't stop there. It's a double whammy tonight, and very shortly at 9 o'clock, we are coming back for away days. The only time of the week we could fit it in. But we've got Dan Potts coming to join us, along with Albert, two Arsenal channels that are going to be talking about what is going to be a massive game for both clubs on Sunday afternoon.
Come on, we can still finish second.
2-1 win.
We can still finish second. We can get ahead of them.
We can. 7 more points, 6 more points with an inferior goal difference. Superior goal difference. Inferior for Liverpool should hopefully get us there.
Liverpool are winning 1-0. Oh, Salah penalty. Salah penalty 1-0.
Shock. But look, we focus on what we need to do, and we need to beat Arsenal. We're going to be talking about it in just under 20 minutes' time. So come and join us on Loaded Mag for that. We will be slipping away for a short period, but we will be back at 9 o'clock. Don't know if you want to do the sponsors before we head out.
Yes, nearly forgot. Well, yeah, a shout out to our sponsors. A quick one, because we'll be on again at shortly. So a quick shout out to the radiatorshed.com. And if you need any radiators, you know where to go to. You go turn to Russ, and he will sort you out for those radiators in a variety of different colors. And if you know someone that's doing up their house, no better man than Russ. He's the one that doesn't look like Callum Wilson. That's Russ there. And if you need to get them installed, the Installworks, which is also Russ's company, will sort that out for you. Also, a shout out to H2O Bathroom Design Co., the Northeast's largest supplier of Velcro and Botch bathroomware. Team Valley Gateshead, over 20 years established, run by the family. Get down to the showroom on 11th Avenue, Team Valley Estate, Gateshead. And there you go, Greg. Get your shower in. But yeah. If you're looking for a bathroom, lads, check these out. These are amazing, absolutely amazing. So yeah.
Don't show my wife.
Yeah, that's what we always say as well.
Back to the same pool.
But thanks, lads, for joining us, and the viewers in the chat. See you in 20 minutes or so. How'd you like that? Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Drink it, like weed and tell me you like that.